80 to 120%. This is middle class. This is like housing for teachers and firefighters. We need that, and we should have that. There's no tax plan for it. There's no plan from the state, even though the state's going to hold a hammer over our heads that we have to do everything we can to produce this kind of housing. It remains to be seen who's going to pay for it. So I think we as a city, certainly me as a supervisor, I think our state legislators also will have skin in the game, and our members of Congress. If we're going to do this, it has to be all hands on deck, and we have to make sure that we have state and federal funding as well. The federal government has really been missing. If you're on Twitter and go to Matt Dorsey, you'll see a graph that has HUD financing. Years ago, after the post-war years, HUD was paying for tons of housing. And then the federal government kind of retreated from that, just left everybody to do what they could do on their own. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that if we're going to have a congestion scheme, that it is equitable, it's not regressive. I think a tolling scheme is a problem. I'm going to do everything I can to fight it because I think it's inequitable. It has come up on the campaign. I know that I'm going to get the question specifically because Steve is going to ask it. Like specifically, are we going to do it? I think this is where we're going to have to get everybody's heads together and figure it out. In much of my career, I've been in situations where I know a little bit about many things and not much about anything. I think that's in many ways the job of a supervisor too. And when I've talked to some of my colleagues, I've said to them, it's like, do you get to read anything anymore? It's like, we have to have people do that for us. It is kind of a challenging thing, but you do have my commitment that my principles about fighting for equity are real, and this matters to me. My ambition is to be a great district supervisor. It is liberating to be launching my political career at the age of 57, and I don't have to worry about how things are going to play out in my White House bid, because there's never going to be one. My ambition is to be a great district supervisor. And that means I can be fearless, and I can be fearless in advocating for my neighborhoods, and you're one of them. And I'm going to call out. It bothers me a lot that we're having a conversation about congestion pricing on this island, and we're not having a congestion pricing argument about the people who are driving by Glen Park BART station as they're driving into downtown, or the people who are in their Range Rover passing the 38 Geary bus as they're driving into Mission. Where's their congestion pricing? Normally congestion pricing is around dense, already developed areas like the City of London. I have never seen it. I'm not aware of a situation where congestion pricing was introduced to a community that's being developed. So that's where I'm going to be on this. There's a lot more work to do. There's a lot more digging in on it. I've been a supervisor for a little over 4 months. I've had a lot of conversations about this, many of them off the record sort of things, and I don't want to betray confidences, in part because I do want to get the inside scoop. One of the nice things about having started work for the city attorney's office like 20 years ago is, I know when you work in the city attorney's office, that's the office that defends all the city departments in litigation. So you get to know where all the bodies are buried, as it were, as the saying goes. There's a lot of people who I know whom to ask if I need, hey, tell me what's going on with it. Having a network of people I can rely on who know the history. And Treasure Island has a development agreement, I believe, that goes back to 1996. There was state legislation that Mark Leno wrote in 2006. There's a lot to unpack here. But that's where I'm going to be on this. I'm happy to take questions.